Hi everyone, welcome back to My Parenting Way. My name's Katie and today I'm going to talk about Aidan, who has recently been diagnosed with a sesame seed allergy, and this is how we came to that conclusion. He has been having very loose, explosive, horrendous poos since I gave up breastfeeding when he was around 11 months. When we first started weaning him, he formed solid, like adult type poos. Sorry for the TMI. It has been since he has been on cow's milk or formula, basically when I stopped breastfeeding him. So I contacted the doctor about 3 weeks ago now and just explained the situation. Thankfully, he's not lost weight. It's just that we've noticed it, and his nursery have also pointed out to us that his poos are just almost like diarrhea, but he doesn't have diarrhea. So it's not constant. It's not like it's, he's poorly with it. It's not like he's got a temperature or any other problems. And he's generally happy. That's the other thing. Generally, he's been a little bit difficult recently, but he's turning into a toddler. So I contacted the doctor 3 weeks ago, and she advised that because he has been getting these poos and he also has a touch of eczema around his tummy, she thinks it might be a milk allergy, milk protein allergy. So she has advised us to give up dairy for at least 2 weeks. It's now been 3 weeks. I did think we were making headway with it and thinking, it's getting better, because he was starting to form slightly better poos by the end of last week. But as of today, it's gone backwards again, and we haven't given him any dairy. And then today, during his snack when he got home from nursery, he came up with this huge rash on his face, this really angry rash, which just came up within seconds. And I actually think it might be hummus, because obviously sesame is an allergen, a quite common allergen. He's still getting eczema on his arms and his tummy, and now he's getting this rash on his face. So we are going back to the doctor, and I'm going to speak to them tomorrow and basically push for allergy testing, and I'll keep you up to date. Morning everyone, it is 5:30 in the morning and we have had very little sleep because Aidan has been up screaming a lot of the night because he has had a really bad poo in the middle of the night, which he never has. He hasn't pooed in the middle of the night for months and months, since he's really a very small newborn. The nappy rash as a result is horrendous, to the point of like blistering. He's in so much pain, bless him. He's just having a really bad time with it. We can't pick him up to soothe him because every time we pick him up we have to hold him under his bum. So we're trying to just cuddle him, give him some Calpol for the pain, and I'm just noting everything down because I'm going to contact the GP today, thank God. I've just given Aidan a little bite of my sesame bagel, and he's just had another reaction. So on one half of that is like, I'm a bit gutted that he's now had a reaction. At the same time, it's kind of supported our diagnosis. So yeah. So eventually, after all of that, we decided that we were going to give up on the cow's milk protein allergy idea because it wasn't making any difference at all, and we weren't putting our finger on why it was still happening, why he was getting eczema still, and he was getting all this eczema flare-ups, and he was also having these horrendous explosive poos. He would occasionally have a rash on his face that we couldn't put our fingers on why it was there. And eventually, one day, I gave him some rice cakes with some hummus on. That was just in our fridge. It was an easy enough snack and healthy enough snack to give him at the time. And I gave it to him, and then sure enough, about, I would say, a matter of minutes after, where the hummus had touched his face, where he was just putting all over his face, as a little boy would do, It was then starting to get this really red. It almost looked like it was going to blister. Thankfully it didn't, but it was really demarcated red rash exactly where the hummus was touching his face, and it was everywhere, and it was just right here around his mouth, exactly where the hummus was. It suddenly dawned on me that it could be something completely different that I wasn't expecting. I looked on the carton of where the hummus was kept. Ingredient that was highlighted in bold, which is the legal thing in the UK to have if, you know, for the most common allergies, if there is an allergen in a set of ingredients, it has to be highlighted in bold. So I had a look, and sure enough, there was the word sesame. It kind of dawned on me that it could be sesame, and I had no idea. It seems like such a specific thing that I didn't suspect that as being it. Sure enough, over the next few days after this episode, it eventually calmed down. I think it calmed down in a matter of hours. Obviously, I wiped it off immediately when I saw that it might have been the hummus, and I just kept an eye on him. He didn't get all puffy and wheezy or anything like that. We didn't need an EpiPen or anything like that. So I just kept an eye on him. Sure enough, over the next 2 days, his poos became more explosive again. He had diarrhea, he had a little eczema flare up on his arm, and so I left it a week for all the symptoms to die down. He was starting to be absolutely fine again, and I thought I would give it another test, and I gave him some tahini paste, which we had in the drawer, which is obviously made out of sesame seeds, and I gave him a little bit on the spoon, and then sure enough, exactly the same thing happened. He got this rash around his mouth, he became really grumpy, and over the next few days again he had the explosive poos. So we immediately contacted the GP and told them that we suspected a sesame allergy. So I asked the GP at that point if it's worth having a prick allergy test, and she explained that firstly the waiting lists were ridiculously long here in the UK. COVID has not helped that, but also that if we suspected an intolerance or an allergy to something, and we have pretty good proof that it might be a certain ingredient, such as a rash, immediately on eating, then she said the likelihood is it is that. And if you're not suspecting anything else, such as eggs or milk or peanuts or anything that's going to give a severe allergic reaction, then it's just to avoid it. That's as simple as that. And we have avoided it ever since. And the doctor did say that if we wanted to contact them again and request allergy testing, then that would be up to us. But we haven't, and the reason why is because we've avoided it ever since, and actually it's made a huge bit of difference. For a long time, because of his extremely runny poos, I was giving him some food that I knew that would be good for diarrhea. So if you check out my How to Cope with Children's Sickness, I mentioned the fact that you should give your children certain foods when they have diarrhea. So if you remember brat, that's bananas, rice, applesauce and toast. So we've been given Aidan all of these things for a long time, sort of in between, just to try and make his poos less runny, and it's actually made a huge difference. So his poos started to be more solidly formed, he wasn't getting this explosive diarrhea again, and because we now have a very good idea of what was causing the problem and we know how to fix it, we've decided that going for allergy testing, formal allergy testing in a hospital probably isn't the best idea. Firstly, he's not got a severe allergy, so he's not having an allergic event, an allergic fit. So his life is not at risk if he did have any kind of sesame. I have been told by several people that I know whose children have gone through allergy testing that it's actually really not a very nice thing to put your child through, especially Aidan, who is now still only about 14 months old. And it's not pleasant, and we already know what it is. That's how we came to the conclusion that he has an sesame allergy. So if you suspect your child does have any kind of allergy, here are my tips for you. Number one, Keep a food diary, which I know is a pain in the bum to do, but it's also vital before you go to the GP and request any kind of allergy testing. So unfortunately, GPs, especially here in the UK, need some idea of what a child is allergic to, because before they get sent to a hospital or paediatrician that specialises in allergies, they need to have an idea of what they're getting into. And that can be really hard, especially like us, when you have no idea what it is. But you need to then keep a food diary and then note their reactions according to this food diary to then start building up an idea. If you go to an allergy specialist and do not have a food diary in front of you, there's nothing that they can work on, and therefore it makes the whole process of trying to figure out what it is extremely difficult. So note the answer to these questions before you go to the GP, because these are likely to be questions that your GP will ask before they refer you on to anyone else. Number 1, how long has the reactions from the food been going on for? Number 2, how do these symptoms present themselves? Are they wheezing? Are they sneezing? Are they coughing? Are they vomiting? Do they have diarrhea? Ongoing chronic skin problems such as eczema? Note all these down because the doctor will want to know. Is your child losing weight? Are they peeing and pooing normally? If not, how is it presenting, and also how long has it been going on for? Have you tried any over-the-counter medication such as Puriton or any anti-allergy medication, and has it actually helped? If your baby or child has had quite an aggressive symptom from a food, such as a rash on the face or any kind of swelling or wheezing, how long has it gone on for? If your baby or child does have quite an aggressive symptom, how long has it lasted after the food has been taken? A very obvious one, what was the food and how much did the child actually ingest? Another very important one, but do you or your partner have any family history of allergies? So once you've answered all these questions and the GP has a rough idea of what the allergy might be or what might be causing it, what they'll probably do is ask you to stop introducing that food to your child for 2 weeks. And this is a really good indicator of whether or not your child is actually recovering from not having that food for a certain amount of time. In that time, I also suggest to continue a food diary just to make sure that if there are any flare-ups in that time, you are monitoring what food they are having. In our case, Aidan was not showing any different symptoms and there was no change in the symptoms after we gave up cow's milk protein products. So any kind of milk, dairy, yogurt, all the rest of it. Under the GP's advice, she said just carry on as normal, just start introducing cow's milk protein products to Aidan again, because these products do have things like vitamin D, calcium, iodine, all the things that sort of support development in a baby and a child. So we have continued to give Aidan milk and milk products, and he's not developed any other symptoms. So we can officially rule out milk as being an allergy that Aidan has. If you then suspect a certain food allergy that your child may have, then go back to your GP after 2 weeks and make a solid case for a referral to a paediatrician or an allergy specialist, because once the allergy is in the system and you are suspecting that your child has an allergy, trying to get advice and regular treatment on this as quickly as possible is going to mean that your child has the best chance of getting over the allergy and being able to cope with it, and obviously you as the parent then are able to just get on with life without having to worry about this constant fear of what might happen if your child then ingests a certain product that might cause an allergic reaction. And it is quite a harrowing process to go through because you're constantly worrying about your child and what they're having, and it makes the whole feeding process extremely stressful. So the sooner you get it done, the sooner that you can move on and you have a bit more of an idea of what your child can grow up on, and also how to introduce certain products to your child safely without causing a reaction. I'll obviously keep you up to date with Aidan's allergy process and how we're going to start introducing sesame to his diet later on so he doesn't have a reaction. So please hit the subscribe button so you get all our updates, and obviously hit the like button if you have found this useful. I hope to see you soon. Bye.